Hi, I'm Derek Irvin, and welcome to Team Time. So how do you get people engaged in your life group? Well, one of the ways is to use the structure of the meeting to your advantage. In a moment, we're going to share with you practical ideas that some of our life group leaders are using. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Northview presents Life Group Leaders of Genius.
Life Group Leaders of Genius.
Today we salute you, Mr. Never Start Life Group on Time leader.
Mr. Never Start Life Group on Time leader.
Once again, you've misjudged your trip home from Nana's house. You'd be late to your own funeral, which may be sooner than you think.
'Cause they all wanna kill you.
Your idea of a snack before Life Group is a 4-course meal. So Life Group is a place to try out your new recipes, and they love you for it.
Your daily bread.
It's been said that time and tide wait for no man, but you believe there's no time like the present.
Right now.
So here's to you, Mr. Never Start Life Group on Time leader. Why put off till tomorrow what you can do before Life Group today?
Mr. Never Start Life Group on Time leader.
Well, I love that video, and unfortunately, I'm afraid that was based on a true story of my leading skills. But fortunately, I'm with a couple of life group leaders here, the Mortons and the Welties, who have done some really cool things of using structure in their life group meeting to their advantage. Now, a key aspect of the way that you guys structure your life group is you not only have individual pieces or kind of compartmentalized pieces to the group itself, but you use each of those sections, if you will, of the life group to assign a role to a different person in your life group. And I think that's one of the real part of the genius of the way that you guys go about that. Tell me what that looks like, how people feel when they get into the group and suddenly they realize that they're being assigned a role here.
Well, they're not assigned. I mean, it's voluntary.
Okay. Well, what happens if nobody volunteers?
We just sit there. We sit there and wait. We wait until someone volunteers.
It's very interesting. When we were in Frank and Dory's group, the the opening, the
welcome.
the welcome and the icebreaker.
All go together.
Yeah, that goes together. That goes usually pretty quickly, and the
Yeah.
snacks.
Yeah, those are easy.
Those are easy.
So the key is to volunteer quick for the easy jobs.
Exactly. So
I see.
No, I mean, literally at the end of every meeting, I say, okay, who wants to host? Who wants to do welcome? Who would like to do worship? Who'd like to do discussion? Who wants to do snack? And then you just sit there until people volunteer. And so there are weeks that Frank and I will not lead any part of the group. There are obviously times when, like, okay, I guess we gotta sign ourselves up for something.
Now, let me stop you there, because I think that's a real paradigm shift for a lot of leaders, that you would actually divvy up the roles, or people would volunteer for the roles in such a way that you as the leader may not have a specific role to accomplish or to function within that meeting.
Right.
Is that
I mean,
correct?
to the point where we may not even be at the meeting. If we're not going to be there next week, we say, who's doing what next week? And then we say, someone else, okay, will you please assign or, have people volunteer for roles for the next week when we will be back, and feel free to sign us up for something. And so, yeah, we don't even need to be there. Or there are weeks where we can look at our schedule and think this is going to be a really busy week, and we don't volunteer for anything.
And that's always a good motivation to be there every week, because if you're not, you might get signed up for something. So the assignment doesn't work. It's kind of a dual role there.
I like that. I like that. So, well, I got to believe that does a couple of things. One is having a structure where everybody is playing an active role. One, it's not going to burn out the leader.
Right. I think that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, at least 5 people will show up.
Well, I hadn't even thought of that one. That you've got 5 people on the hook that have a role, so they're coming.
It really is. There's ownership in what's going to happen next week.
Yeah, and it creates an environment where it's our group, and it's not, it's the Frank and Dory's group. The environment is, this is our group. I play an active role. That role will change amongst the members of our group.
We actually had somebody come new to our group, and it took her months to figure out that we were actually the leaders. So
Is that
I figured that's a
right?
good thing. And she also said, it's just so nice how everything's so freeform and there's just no structure. I just love this. And we thought, okay.
Which is important because we don't say, okay, now we're
it's
going to do
time.
discussion, now we're going to do worship. It just kind of naturally,
7:13, we got one more month. What do we
exactly,
do?
it just sort of naturally flows, and it doesn't feel rigid.
Right. So for the purposes of this conversation, we're really putting the structure under a microscope, and we're saying, okay, this part of the meeting may go from 7 to 7:15, but in reality, it really free flows. I mean, you know what the structure is, people know what to expect, but you're not bound to that structure.
Absolutely.
But I guess another thing that I keyed on that you were talking about, Frank, is that the structure is not something that you're slave to. You know, you're not there to serve the structure. The structure is there to serve the greater good of what the group's trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I think that's right. If there was some major catastrophe in someone's life, you're not going to say, sorry, we can't talk about that right now. We have to do our welcome now.
Right.
You know,
It's 7:30, time up.
yeah, exactly. You know, we're sorry to learn about that, but we're moving on. You know,
Right.
it doesn't work that way. You still have, the Holy Spirit still has to be
Yeah, absolutely.
driving what's happening.
We've
You
had
need to
some
be
times
sensitive
when
to
we just
that.
can the whole, even if somebody's got something going on in their life. We've had times we just spend the whole evening praying for somebody, let them share, and then everybody goes there and prays for them. That's all we do that night.
So it sounds like it's really at the discretion of the life group leader.
You just kind of have to relax and be flexible and go with it.
Right. Well, I think one of the keys is that the way that you guys structure your life group is certainly not the only way to do it, maybe not even the quote-unquote right way to do it, but what it does do is it answers the question, how are we going to get the people in our life group really engaged and sharing in the ownership of the group, involved, and thinking of the group as this is our group. And not your group. So it's kind of like if you're not going to do it this way, then great, share with us how you're accomplishing it, and let's share those ideas with each other.
Exactly.
You know, the key is there's not just one way to do it. I mean, there's multiple ways to do it. You know, you want to figure out what works for you and then share the ideas with everybody else.
Right.
You know, there's more than one way to do it. You know, for example, one of the ways that I've heard that people will use to divvy up roles is to share roles around the core values. So core values are relationships, reaching out, and growing spiritually. So to have somebody who's kind of in charge of the service project, or somebody, you know, even if you rotate that, it really gets them engaged, and it's not, okay, this falls on the life group leader's shoulders to make it happen.
And I think it allows them to look for opportunities to serve. You know, everybody's sort of on the hunt for a project that our life group can do together. And I think it kind of keeps their eyes open for that too, which is kind of fun.
Wow, I just love getting cool insights like that from our leaders. In fact, next time we're going to continue our dialogue with Frank and Dory Morton and Matt and Val Welty. And they're going to go a little more in depth into each of the individual components of their life group meeting. They're going to talk about how they organize hosting and who brings the snacks. They're going to talk about their welcome time, the icebreaker, worship time and the God hunt, discussion, as well as how they do prayer requests. It's going to be a neat time, and I'm sure we'll learn a lot from that as well. Well, finally, I just want to thank you guys for joining us for Team Time. You know, you guys are the best, and we couldn't do this without you. Thank you for the investment you're making in this ministry, as well as in the lives of the people in your life group. God bless.